Oh Hannah, what are you doing at 2 AM, eh? Partying, hanging out with some hunks. And what are you doing? Making book videos on Jane Austen's Persuasion. So today I'm going to do a review of Jane Austen's Persuasion. This is actually Jane Austen's shortest novel, and it actually came out after she died, and there's like a conspiracy that had she been alive and published it herself, she would have added more to it. But that's never been proved, and it doesn't feel like an unfinished novel. I think that's just like a conspiracy theory. So basically this is about, you've got a 19-year-old girl called Anne. Her mother has died and she lives with her father and her sisters, and her closest thing to a mother figure is someone called Lady Russell, who really likes her and likes her the best out of all the sisters. A young man comes along called Wentworth, Mr. Wentworth, and she falls in love with him. She's 19 and she wants to go marry him, and she loves him more than anything, and he loves her and he treats her really well. But Lady Russell and her father say you cannot marry him. It's a bad decision because he doesn't really come from like the greatest of families. They don't really know where he comes from. He's not very high up in like ranking, and they just say that he's not a good prospect for you to marry. You, because of the way you were brought up, can marry higher than him. And so she gets persuaded into not marrying him. Lo and behold, 7 years later, Anne runs into Captain Wentworth. He is now highly successful. He is not married. He's very successful. He's a captain, which is really high up. He's higher up than anyone thought he was going to be. And he comes back into her social circle, and she's sort of very excited about it. And then he's completely cold to her. He's like, oh, hi, I once knew you. No mention of him ever going to marry her or anything, and all her friends and everyone around her, a rumour's sort of been spread that she was due to marry his brother, who they haven't met and you don't really meet, and so they don't see the connection between the two of them. There's no sort of awkwardness, and the whole book is basically a series of dinner parties, and they go on holiday and loads of different things of Anne just staring at Wentworth and this like awkwardness of it. The whole her like getting engaged to him and not marrying him, then 7 years passes very quickly, and the whole rest of the book is them just, you know, the reunion between them. This book is so good. It's better than what I've just described it as, because I read the back and thought it's a bit boring, and no, Jane Austen's writing in this is amazing. So it is just a series of dinner parties where they sort of see each other across the room. It's glances, it's body language, but you're so invested that I turned into like a little body expert. I was like, body language expert, and like she'd look at him and then I'd be like, let me reread that, let me reread that a million times and read into that. Was that a lust look? How was she looking at him there? He puts his hand on the table. How's he putting his hand? Like, I got so invested in them getting back together. And it wasn't always about them, it was a lot about her, and like Anne at this time she's 27, and in those days you were like an old woman when you were 27, and to not be married she sort of gets pushed around and told what to do by those people. And then their cousin Mr. Elliot comes back into their lives, and she like delves into him to see where he's been, and you just really fall in love with Anne because I feel like she's the massive underdog in this whole book. I'm going to reiterate something I said in my review of The Crucible by Arthur Miller, which is when Arthur Miller and Jane Austen write, there doesn't have to be this big murder or car crash or all these different things. They write so well that even like the minor and most boring day-to-day events sound interesting because they can write that well. Can we just talk for 5 seconds about the cover? What a pointless cover. This is Penguin Classics. I'm guessing that's Anne there and her 2 sisters, but like, this isn't how they have grand dinner parties and they're not all sitting down, and her sisters have got their husbands. This is just such a boring cover. So I hope you pick up this book. This book, absolutely amazing, and video every day is going well. If you enjoy this, then subscribe, and I'll see you very soon.